So my wife's like, get on Clubhouse. I'm like, fine. And I just hear Grant go, Glenn, is there anything I can do to help you grow eXp? You let me know. Got off Clubhouse, called Lisa, and I said, you need to get Grant on the phone, and I'll get Glenn on the phone. We brokered the call. I said, we're not going to be on the call, Lisa. Billionaire to billionaire. Has the call. There's no like, hey, the call went great. So I'm like, so, like, well. And he goes, well, I think I'm probably going to be speaking at GrowthCon, and I might be on the next Undercover Billionaire. And I was like, and good for you, but what about me?
Yep.
Did we recruit him? And then he's like, no, and that's it.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. We have a guest on today that does not really need an introduction. If you don't know this guy, you need to know him, so you got to stay to the end of the show. Brian Culhane. Dude, you are a real estate legend. There is so much that I want to dive into with you. I hope you have a little bit of time here with me today.
I cleared my calendar.
I love it, bro, because I got a lot to talk to you about. Man, you're working with Grant and Elena Cardone. I mean, you're doing massive things. You just built a new house for you and your family.
Sure.
You're working on another one in Sedona, and I know you've got your hand in a bunch of different pots. So I'm just excited to dive into it, man. I appreciate you being on the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, Austin.
Yeah, so, dude, I met you many years ago.
Yep.
I always the first time I met you, I was like, this guy's the real deal. Like, he's just the real deal. I remember we would do Zoom calls. You were sitting in your living, and I think it was like right before COVID maybe. And man, I've just been following you ever since, dude. And I've been watching what you've gone from. I mean, even back then you were killing the game, and now you're like on another level. And for maybe somebody that doesn't know who you are,
yeah,
talk to me a little bit about what you're doing right now, what you're working on.
What am I doing right now? Well, that's a great question. I think ultimately I'm trying to craft and perfect the ultimate day. Okay. I'm trying to crack the code for happiness, age reversing.
You've been hanging out with that one guy. Who is that guy?
Gary Brecka.
Yeah.
A little too much.
Yeah.
But there's something to that, right? I mean, why am I doing that? Because obviously we're in similar, businesses. We're real estate people. We build teams. We're organization builders. You ever get tired doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Does it take a lot of energy?
All the time.
It takes a lot of energy
Every
to do
day.
what we do, right? So for me, I've had to really work on maintaining my energy force, right? I always say everything I do takes three things. It's going to take some time, some money, and some of your life force. And in some cases, that life force piece is the most expensive.
Wow.
Right? And coaching real estate agents, trying to motivate people. I mean, I've always been a coach, always been a trainer, always been a motivator, played sports. Grew up in Chicago, kind of a poor kid in a rich neighborhood, right? Blue collar and a ultra starched white three-piece suit, collar neighborhood. And, I had a lot of rich friends. You mentioned building a house. I had a lot of friends with indoor basketball courts and grew up on the lake and had yachts and, fancy cars. And, and I was a busboy and a caddy and a waiter. And so, I was around wealthy people, but we weren't wealthy. And so, that was always kind of that was my fuel, right? Turn your baggage to fuel, right? So that was sort of my fuel, operating out of this. I can outwork, I can out hustle. I pick people as kind of targets or people that I wanted to emulate or be like, and then I would like learn from them and study them, and and absorb from them, and then I implemented as much as I could,
Yeah.
And so that's how I got to where we got. That's how I met Glenn Sanford off of a Craigslist ad. I basically grew up in Chicago, did 27 winters, and then effectively threw all my clothes in a garbage bag, came out to Arizona, collecting unemployment, started waiting tables at Eddie V's, used my last unemployment check to go get my real estate license. And while I was in school, I started replying to Craigslist ads.
Wow.
And one of the ads was Glenn Sanford.
What was the ad? What was the?
You know what? I wish I could go find it. It was probably something like... because I was in commercial.
When would this have been? Just
2005.
2005. Okay, so Glenn Sanford. Let me think. In 2005, eXp's not a thing.
Oh no.
Yet. Okay. Right. Way before eXp.
Yeah. 5 years before eXp.
All right. And what was Glenn doing at the time? He was with.
So Glenn. So if you back up, Glenn was like the consummate entrepreneur. I mean, if you've ever listened to him, he's probably started something like 17 companies in 18 years or something like that. He was a consummate entrepreneur, and the way he says it is he just was a terrible employee, right? And so, but when I met Glenn, he had been in real estate for probably about 4 years. He'd started at Prudential, and then he went to Keller because he started reading the MREA book, right, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And so then he got the idea that he wanted to become a team builder. So, and if you know Glenn, Glenn was actually doing the 10X concept, but he said it differently, right? What's 10X? 10X is multiply your goals by 10.
Sure.
Right? 10X.
You're not thinking big enough.
Yeah, think bigger. 10X your goals.
Yep.
Well, Glenn would say it differently. He would say, like let's say, Austin, in your second or third year as an agent, what would have been your goal for commissions? How much money in commissions would you want to make?
Second or third year,
Yeah.
150, 200 grand.
Yeah, so he would have said add a zero.
Right. Yeah.
He would say
$2 million.
make your goal 2 million.
Yeah.
And then you'll fail forward. So that was Glenn like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Saying the same thing as Grant Cardone.
He would say to me, the day he hired me, he said, Brian, first thing he said to me, the day he hired me, I said, thanks, boss. He said, don't call me boss, call me coach. And I was like, this guy's different, right? He's a smart guy. And then, he's a little more enlightened, right? Like it was a different kind of mindset. And then the other thing he said to me is, he goes, Brian, every real estate agent, as soon as they get their license, should start a brand and call themselves the CEO of their own brand. And here I'm a 27-year-old kid. I'm at Keller Williams. I'm on his team. I'm the junior, like newest guy in the whole office. I'm like, I'm supposed to call myself the CEO, Glenn? Like, what's up with that? Like it just didn't. It almost didn't compute.
Sure.
Now I look back and I realize, it was all mindset stuff. He was trying to get me to believe in myself, think bigger. We were sitting down at dinner probably about a little less than a year ago. And I was like, could you ever imagine? Did you ever believe it would get like this? And he goes, we must have, or it wouldn't have happened.
Wow. Wow. That's a cool thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had to have believed, right?
He knew it all along. You knew it. I mean,
well, how would it have happened otherwise?
Sure.
Right? We were believers.
You have to believe in order to achieve something. Like you can't. I've talked about that before. Like you can't achieve something you don't believe you can do.
That's right. Well, in the Napoleon, the famous quote, right? What's the famous Napoleon Hill quote? What the mind can
conceive, the mind can achieve.
See, exactly. It's actually, if you go back and watch the video, he says what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So he slips in and believe, gets dropped off.
Wow.
I think that's the most important piece.
And that part gets slipped out a lot.
You just left it off.
I just quoted it without, yeah.
I'll play you the video.
If
He
the mind-
absolutely says, and he says it many times.
Wow.
What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if
And
you just conceive it.
Dude, everybody's good at conceiving.
Right.
Few people believe and very few implement.
Sure.
That's actually the missing piece.
That's the part he maybe left out.
Yeah. Like that's the part that you got to go figure out.
And I think that's the part that now that, obviously Napoleon Hill, a lot of his work was a long time ago, right? And
Yeah.
I've seen people actually that have now taken kind of a lot of his stuff and said, okay, but now I've actually seen people that have broken that down saying you have to work though.
Yeah.
Like you can't just believe.
So here's a reverse of it. Conor McGregor has a similar version of this. He says, before we've even stepped in the ring, I've already knocked you out. All I have to do is figure out where to hit you.
I like that.
Right. So then he goes, say it out loud, say it with confidence, work towards it, and it's already done.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard him say that.
Yeah. Say it out loud, say it with confidence, work towards it, and it's already done.
Wow.
But the work towards it.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
And it's already done.
It's already
right?
done.
And
It's already happened. You're already
Yeah.
that billionaire. You just got to get there.
Mm-hmm. And I've said that a lot in my life.
Like that version of Austin Zaback exists, and it's already happening, and all you have to do is do the work sequentially in order to get there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm 27 now.
Yeah.
And you just walked through my office.
Yeah.
We have like 75 people here.
Yeah.
But dude,
a little better than I was at 27.
Well, I mean, when we have the advantage of this.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm watching guys like you.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the difference, right? Is I studied at a really young age guys like you.
Yeah.
And I was able to do it just like this right here.
Where I had to go to an office and
Right.
shadow 60-year-old engineers and go up to skyscrapers in downtown Chicago to see how he operated in a
Sure.
meeting with a big shot,
So
Wall
I'm
Street
able to
executive.
consume more information
Right.
quicker,
Faster.
and then implement quicker,
Yes.
right?
1,000,000%.
And so I think if you take advantage of it, that's really powerful, So, but the point is I saw this, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
You were
didn't
visualizing what your life could be like.
1,000,000%.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
just-
know exactly, right? Like, I think some people, and I'd love to know like this about, like, I didn't know the curtains would be red, and like I didn't know exactly what it would look like, but
Right.
I knew I had the vision of generally what it would look like.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
1,000,000%.
you see what I'm saying?
1,000,000%.
I didn't know exactly what companies even. I mean, I didn't know.
So can I tell you what's happening inside your brain?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So my wife and I practice thought projection. Okay, so thought projection is, maybe that's not the right exact term, but what we think thought projection is what we basically do is we get up in the morning and we think about how we want our day to go.
Hey, real quick, I just want you to do me a huge favor. If you're enjoying the show and you're enjoying all the amazing guests that we've been having on lately, then do me a massive favor and smash the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you have not already. I would greatly appreciate it. It would mean the world to me, and we will be able to bring on a lot more big names if you help us out. Now let's get back to the show.
And we get somewhat granular.
Okay.
It doesn't always, like you said, it's not always red curtains, but what's happening is, so when you visualize, when you pray, when you meditate, when you if you golf and you think about where the ball is going to go and where it's going to land, you're actually putting bits of that memory gets scored into your brain chemically, and almost your brain doesn't know if it really happened or not. Okay, so now you're familiar with the reticular activation system, RAS. What is it? It's a bundle of nerves that sits at the brainstem. I call it your go and get it system. It's basically your filter, right? You're being bombarded with, I don't even know, trillions of terabytes of information at all times, right? I mean, lights, noise, people talking. I mean, we're on a rock that's spinning, or we're on a ball of fire that's on fire, we're flying through space. I mean, nothing's static, nothing's sitting still. And so yet we think you got to go out and get this stuff. You got to go out and find it. And what it really is your reticular activation system is the dampener. It's the filter. It's the judicial system that actually discriminates out everything else than what you're focused on. So then, if you understand that, and your focus is, I want to take a sip of water.
Okay.
Right? Now, it's simple. It's right in front of me. I want to get a sip. I'm thirsty. I'm going to reach out and grab it. But let's say this bottle of water is in another room. Now I got to do a little more, but I want to go get that bottle of water. But it's not that I have to physically go find a bottle of water. It's I have to cut everything else out that's a distraction until I get to that bottle of water. Does that make sense?
It does.
So in a lot of cases, when you're doing these meditations and these visualization techniques, you're kind of scoring your brain with memories that when you do get closer to that, so with the way the reticular activation system really works is if you do start to focus on things or think about things a lot, then you'll start to pick up clues, right? Because then the universe will conspire with your mind and to send you bits of information. It's like the other day I needed a highlighter, and I'm just like, boom, there's a highlighter. Oh, that's crazy, right? Like, yeah. But that doesn't even faze me anymore because it's my everyday, right? Sure, it becomes intuitive decision making, right? You're just in the cash flow. I call it the cash flow state, but you're in the flow state, right? And so as your sort of reticular activators, just looking for clues. Well, if you pre-program it with some things that you might want to find, right? Nice house, nice wife, nice husband, a career, whatever, nice clothes. Yep. You start visualizing that. You do dream boards. You cut it out. You watch YouTube videos of people on jets. Now, next time you're walking through a crowded, mall, your brain, you think about all the conversation. You walk into a restaurant. How do you know what that one person's saying and not hear everybody else at the same time, right? Yep. So you're going to walk into that restaurant and you're going to all of a sudden go, yeah, I'm a pilot and I just bought a jet. You're going to be like, oh, that guy's a pilot and he just bought a jet. Like, you wouldn't have heard that guy, even though it was said in your presence before many times, until you made the decision that you wanted a private jet and started to do the work. You would never have heard that guy say he's a pilot that owns a private jet, or he's somehow connected to private jets. Now, that clue, now you got to act on it, right? The universe will throw clues at you all day long. Like, hey, Austin, hey, now.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? First of all, are you going to catch it? Or are you thinking about other stuff? You say you want to be successful, but you're full of tattoos. So what are you really obsessing on? Sure. Selling houses or getting body art? Right. To me, it looks like you're way more into body art than selling houses. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Like, your mind will it'll attract whatever you think about.
Every time.
Yep. And by the way, not just in the positive,
right? But in the negative.
Right? Yeah. It's a law.
And so, how do you, how do you get better at that? Is it the daily act of meditating? You said thought projecting. I think is what you said. Yeah. Meditating, thought projecting. Yeah. Is it the daily act and just doing it consistently every day of your life for a decade? I mean, what are we talking about?
So no, because here's the thing. I mean, let's just call it out. What is meditating? Meditating is the act of trying to unthink. Okay, is to clear your mind of thoughts. Well, why are people trying to meditate? I mean, why is thinking? What's wrong with thinking?
So we're thinking about the wrong stuff all the time.
Not really. It's a way more bait. And we were talking about it earlier. Okay, we were talking about when I get into cold water, what happens to the blood? It all rushes to my head, right? It forces oxygen into my brain tissue. Okay, so thinking requires oxygen. Anything that requires oxygen effectively is killing you.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So thinking kills you.
Yep.
Because it requires oxygen.
Quite literally. Yeah.
So how do you unthink? Now, by the way, your brain is so dialed in that even when you're sleeping, your brain is like an amoeba that just wants to consume experiences. It's just like, ooh, that's a good one. I want more of that. That's bad. Get rid of that. More of this, right? And so even when you're sleeping, your brain will create experiences so that it can consume it, right? So that's dreaming. So your brain is always looking to consume experiences. So the meditative mind. Now, if you understand neurotransmitters and neuroplasticity and brain chemicals, your brain chemicals, you have about 30,000 brain chemicals. They're divided up into neuro inhibitors and exhibitors, right? Some pump you up, some calm you down. The pump up ones will always override the calm you down ones. When does your body heal? When do you repair? When you're sleeping. Why? Because your brain is in a deep wavelengths, you're getting more oxygen, your body's not taking up oxygen, moving and talking and thinking, right? So your brain gets to heal, repair itself because you're releasing meditative brain chemicals, okay? And it calms you and it heals you and you're dropping into your subconscious. Well, meditating is sort of like a sleep cheat, right? And so is cold water. And as a matter of fact, I don't meditate. I meditate in the cold because that's the fastest way for me to clear my mind.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't have 2 hours to go hum.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I did the Joe Dispenza advanced retreat or whatever, if you're familiar with him.
A little bit.
And long meditations. I mean, I'm talking like, you got to have a lot of time on your hands. In my opinion, I loved it, right? It was cool experience. It was cool to understand that world. But I'm with you on the fact that, hey, but now is meditating...
See, if someone would have told me, like, you meditate so you can get oxygen in your brain because you need oxygen to be happy and be in a better mood, like, I'd be like, oh, I'm all in.
Wow.
But they didn't explain it that way.
And we're not taught that anywhere.
No one knows. I don't even think the people who do it know that.
Right. So where did you learn? Like, I mean, I've watched a few videos by Andrew Huberman. We were talking a little bit before the show on deliberate cold exposure, deliberate heat exposure. You might have told me about Andrew Huberman. I think I was sitting in the sauna or the steam room at Lifetime Biltmore, and there was a couple kids in there, and I think you were talking to them, and I was eavesdropping. At the end, we talked to each other for a minute, but you were talking about Andrew Huberman.
Not kids.
I went right home, and I pulled up Andrew. I think on my drive home, I pulled up Andrew Huberman. I listened to every episode.
Yeah, it was Christian Morales was talking about the dopamine hit piece and how to control your dopamine, which is, that's one of the last horizons.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a Socratic philosophy guy. Aristotle said mastering self-discipline unlocks success. I was struggling financially and I was also unhealthy. I made it a conscious effort to focus on my health. I lost my dad at an early age. He was sort of death by 1,000 cuts, didn't take care of himself and thought he knew better than his doctor. So I and then I saw myself heading down that path and then I broke my hip. And so that was the big sort of, the golden Buddha metaphor, right? It kind of knocked me off my invincibility, and I thought I was a college athlete, and I could still eat anything I wanted, drink whatever I wanted, do whatever I wanted, but I wasn't doing the work anymore like a college athlete, right? And then I had kids, and I had a business, and I was stressed out, and I was eating McDonald's and showing houses all day, and so I was like 300 pounds.
Wow.
I'm 6'6", but today I'm 223. So I was, 6'6". This was in 2011 when I first broke my hip. So that really began. Now, see, I broke my hip, but I didn't start the health journey until 2016.
Wow.
So broke the hip in 2011, got the full replacement in 2013, basically on pain pills the whole time. Okay, and that causes a lot of problems in your body and your heart and your endocrine system, and it causes problems in my marriage, and it just makes you acidic. It makes you real acidic. Now, I've learned later that being acidic versus being alkaline, that's the whole thing. So, for example, you can be angry in an anaerobic state, okay? Now, that's hardwired into us. That's a biological safety mechanism. The reason why? for a million years, you would go down to the lake or the river to get some water, and a saltwater crocodile would clamp on your head and try and take you underwater.
Sure.
So you had to fight, or maybe a boa constrictor, or maybe even your next door neighbor tried to strangle you. You had to be able to fight off an attack without being able to breathe. Okay, so we have that ability.
Yep.
But it also, you can't be happy in an anaerobic state. Okay, so think about that for a second. Like, happiness requires oxygen.
Okay.
But not just shallow breathing. Now, we talked about this earlier. Wim Hof. Wim Hof refers to his exercise as breath. What?
I don't know.
Breath
work.
Breath work.
Yeah.
Breath work. Okay, follow me here. So you need oxygen to be happy. So happiness, if we were to do a little symbolic thing, happiness is A, right? Happiness requires B, oxygen. Okay, and oxygen requires work. So doesn't happiness require work?
Yep,
then?
absolutely. Yeah.
So is not happiness a muscle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. That's why they say you can't be happy all the time.
Well, so you could be if you kept your blood oxygenated all the time and didn't drop into sick. By the way, cancer can't exist in an alkaline state.
Right. Yep.
So now it comes, remember I said cracking the code to happiness, reversing, age reversing. Like that's where I'm trying to spend my day, just cultivating, maintaining that happiness level, that oxygen level, because I'm a better person. I want to expand. I want to build. I want to help more people, right? I mean, back to what we do for a living, help people.
It's really interesting, and I love that you do that. I want to get more into that. What would you say have been the main things, is it cold plunge? We were talking a little bit before the show, right? So, and we didn't get some of that on the show, and I want to kind
breathing.
Okay.
It's all breathing.
Everything's breathing.
Yeah, because cold water. So they asked Wim Hof, who's your master? So by the way, how did I figure all this stuff out? Little piece here, little piece there, little piece here, little piece there. Piece from 20 years ago when I played college basketball. 20, you know what I mean? Like it's like, and forever I was the guy that was so into all these different things, and everyone thought I was nuts. What do you ancient mysteries, and why do you like this and why do you like that, and just get focused on business finance or something. I was like, I don't know, I kind of like all this weird stuff. But now I'm taking all those bits and pieces and I'm sort of filling in the missing links, right? So for example, like some of it's Gary, some of it's Wim, some of it's Troy Casey, my various coaches, but like they'll all have a different way of saying similar things, and then I can build in the missing piece, because I'm not I grew up with hippie parents. Okay. Yep. But I'm kind of like an all-American hippie, right? I was like the clean-cut golden boy, played basketball. But I also was kind of like, like to have fun and listen to the Beatles and stuff. And so, but my parents weren't financially, like, they didn't pour into me financially. Like, they didn't, they maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but it wasn't a thing. It wasn't important. And so for me, I think a lot of this health stuff, a lot of the meditation stuff, people get turned off to it because it's kind of got that hippy-dippy, granola foo-foo vibe to it, right? And we're in a real estate industry. There's a lot of, alpha types. I mean, male and female, but I mean, everyone's an alpha in real estate, right? And, and then when you try and introduce something like breath work, it gets a little like, we're going to get naked and dance around the bongo fires, and I don't think so, man. That's not for me. I'm a truck driver. I'm all business. I play sport. It's like they're not into it. And so I'm trying to bring kind of a sporty businessman brand to sort of the health and wellness space. Yeah. Right. I'm trying to merge the real estate with the health. Really, I mean, what does the word wealth come from? Well, health.
Right.
I mean, that's the word wealth. Yeah. Right. So you can't be healthy. You can't be wealthy without being healthy.
Right. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I love I've kind of always talked about it, but I love, you're obviously, way ahead of where I am, but I'm on my journey, and but it's really cool.
But not really, because I'm trying to repair damage that I probably did from 25 to 40.
Maybe I can avoid
so
some
you
of that
dude, if I would imagine a 27-year-old Brian Culhane armed with Wim Hof and Gary Brecka and 10x.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew none of that stuff.
Right. Incredible.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the real estate stuff. You go through all of that. When did you go to eXp? When did that whole thing come about?
Yeah, I mean, eXp was an evolution. And again, by the way, eXp is a muscle.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to work it. So, obviously went to work with Glenn at Keller for 3.5 years. I was his team leader. He was one of the first expansion team people in Keller Williams history. So he had offices in 6, 7 cities. And I was his Phoenix captain. And side story, I hadn't even passed my real estate test when he offered me the job.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm still in real estate school. It took me 5 times, and he almost took it away from me.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Fun fact.
yeah. For anyone that did well at eXp, you should be thanking me for passing that test.
Right.
And so then we left Keller because we were making so much money.
If you've ever wanted to get into wholesaling real estate and you want to learn how to flip contracts and wholesale, right? Maybe you're brand new, maybe you've never wholesaled a deal, or maybe you're even doing a couple of deals a month right now, but you want to learn how to do more. Instead of joining my coaching program or somebody else's coaching program, we're actually looking to hire. So go ahead and message me 480-418-5339 and send me a text message opportunity. Okay, so if you want to work with me, you want to work with my incredible team, you want all of our leads, you want all of our systems, all of our processes, everything, right? And I've done about 2,000 wholesale deals in my career, then go ahead, shoot me a text, 480-418-5339, and message me opportunity. And look, especially if you're in my state, okay, the state of Arizona. If you live in Arizona and you want to get into wholesaling, this especially is an opportunity for you because you can come sit right in this office with my entire team and be a part of one of the biggest wholesaling companies in the country. I look forward to talking to you.
The profit share never delivered. And by the way, second favorite brokerage, great people, great culture, great support. I did my undergrad at Keller Williams. I'll always appreciate them.
Yep.
But now I'm doing my master's in wealth creation at eXp.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so we left Keller, started our own brokerage called Buyer Tours.
Okay.
So no one knows that.
And Glenn was the broker.
Glenn was the owner.
He was the owner, okay.
No, we hired brokers. He was the rainman. He was the techie that created the websites that generated leads. I was ranked. So when I got into real estate in 2005, the only other website that was stronger than me was jimmessinger.com and scottsdalerealestate.com. I basically was the number 2 ranked website for every major search term.
Wow.
And so we generated like $1 billion worth of leads in my first 2 years. So I was so busy. I got so much real hands experience in my first couple of years. But then I'm also growing the team, working. But we were making so much money, but the office wasn't. And so if you understand profit share, it's not just you or your group that has to be profitable. It's the whole office. Yep. And it's also the smallest number on the ledger, right? So we were just sick of not getting any profit shared with us, right? And so we left in 2008 and we started a company called Buyer Tours. Now, again, 2008, market was great. Everybody's killing it. We had all these great websites. We were making a ton of money. And so we got offices, hired brokers. And then in about October of 2008, the big market crash, right? I mean, this was, people talk about recession today. This was a real deal. Like, this was like people lost 40% of their net worth and the housing values. Whole subdivisions were being left empty, like unfinished. Yeah, Queen Creek became a ghost town overnight. And now keep in mind, Glenn's got 7 offices, 7 markets, 7 leases, 7 broker salaries, everything times 7. I think we went 3 or 4 months without a single transaction in any of the 7 cities.
Not a single one.
Yes, and bang, he's $500,000 underwater, just like that. 6 months, and less than that, 3 months. And because I think it was about 150 grand a month, because we had the websites, we had all this office space. Calls an emergency meeting in the end of 2008. Or actually, it was I think it was like maybe might even January of 2009. I don't know, somewhere around there. End of 2008, beginning of 2009. Calls a big meeting, gets everybody in Tempe, all the team leaders that were still there. We all got there, and he's like, "This is the famous meeting." And I've got some cool photos of it. But he goes, "Hey, everybody. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for a while. We need to go reinvent the brokerage model, or we all have to go find other jobs." And one of the agents raised her hand and goes, "When do we get our offices back?" And Glenn looked at her and goes, "Never."
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so then we spent about a year meeting every day in the first version of the cloud office. We called ourselves the world's first fully immersive Web 2.0 real estate company. Didn't fit so good on the back of a business card. Then we later changed it to the world's fully immersive first Web 3.0 real estate brokerage. Then a couple years later, we changed it to cloud brokerage. Yep. Then we went public. And the big twist, though, was the cloud office. So we were the first virtual company. That's what we rolled out with. And we did gross commission revenue share. So we, instead of paying off of a profit, we paid off the gross. So it was a big number.
Yeah, massive.
People started making real money. And that's when we started to get some attention. Now, it still took us 6 years to get to 1,000 agents, right? And we were meeting every day. I mean, we had this, it was like it was like an orphanage of like dejected real estate agents, right? And we were just like, when's this going to get better? And, but we just kept plowing ahead. Glenn used to come out and we'd go on recruiting visits. This is kind of a funny little story. He would come out and we'd go on recruiting visits. We didn't have offices, so we'd meet in the lobby of the Hyatt or something, right? Or at the Gainey Ranch or, some hotel, and we'd meet these big shot real estate agents and we'd try and recruit them. And Glenn would pull this move. It was the best. We'd be sitting there and, we came together, we were leaving together. I knew his schedule. He knew. And about 3/4 of the way through the meeting, he'd be like, listen, I got another meeting. Brian, wrap it up. I got to go.
Yeah.
And he'd go sit in my car.
Oh, my gosh.
Just wait. But he was trying to establish that he was important. And he had, if he could have sat there for 3 hours with you.
Sure.
Like, how important is this guy?
Right.
Like, how busy is he? He's got 3 hours to kill on a Tuesday. So he knew that stuff. He was so good at like neuro-linguistic programming stuff. I mean, all our systems, all our follow-up protocols, all our buyer tours systems were all based in neuro-linguistic programming.
NLP. Yeah, NLP is big. I've studied it quite a bit, and really, really cool stuff. So did you guys do a name change then?
No.
Or did that brokerage get shut down?
No, there was no brokerage. So when we shut buyer tours down, we closed it.
Closed it.
And I went to HomeSmart. We all went to cheap brokerages, just
cheap,
just to ride out the storm.
$100 a transaction,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, whatever, right? I went there. I literally sat in the conference room, popped up my thing, and I took 10 agents from buyer tours over to HomeSmart, and I blew it up to about 30 agents, just sitting in the conference room telling people. And the brokers were like, oh, he's building a team. He's got leads. Go talk to Brian.
Yeah.
So I had about 30 agents at HomeSmart, and then we worked for about a year on the model, and then Glenn had the same thing going on in Washington State, and then I had my thing here in Arizona, and so he took 10 agents out of only 10 agents came with them. We had about 20 or 30. Only 10 agents came with them out of the Washington situations, and they launched, or 20 of them did, and they launched eXp Washington State. And then a month later, I grabbed Suzanne Fuqua, and I said, will you be our broker? And she said, yeah, because she was the only one who had an associate's broker's license. And I said, will you be the broker? She goes, yeah. And then a month later, we rolled out eXp Arizona.
Wow.
With 10 agents or 15. I think only 15 of those original 30 came with me. So and of them, none of them stayed with all the way through. One was there and left and came back 9 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that person regret it?
Oh, he's 20 at the time.
Okay.
For sure. He went to college. He left to go to college. I know. He would have been.
He's still with you today?
He's still with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
He's like your age, though.
That's rough. Yeah. That's rough.
But he's not. He was a young guy. He had to figure it out.
Right.
But so, but that's kind of where now, like our conversation. I try and intersect those guys before they make that.
Right.
Because you don't. How many chances do you get? You don't meet a Glenn Sanford off a Craigslist ad every day.
No, you don't.
And so I was always a true believer. And someone pointed out to me later, there's a cool video, you can look it up, called the first follower effect. In some level, I think that was a good term for me, the first follower. Glenn was this visionary. He was a big picture thinker. He was also an implementer, which was very rare, to have big picture, also implementer. But he was a super analyst, right? He was that, if you study like men's psychology and stuff like that, the king, warrior, magician, lover, right? The archetypal energies. Glenn was definitely a magician energy, but he could flex into his king. I was definitely a king energy, zero magician. Right?
Yeah, so interesting.
I needed Glenn. And so a better metaphor is he was kind of like the gourmet chef, and I was like the guy on the street corner with the sandwich board saying, hey, come eat at Glenn's.
Yeah, which is awesome. It made for a perfect duo. And look at where the company is today. I mean, so now fast forward today, what is eXp? Almost 100,000 agents, right?
Yeah, 20 plus countries.
20 plus countries, all 50 states.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's crazy.
Publicly traded on the NASDAQ. I mean, what are we? So what's the goal now with eXp? I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, I guess let's start there, and then
I mean, your guess is as good as mine, right? Publicly traded company. Nothing I say is official company business. Obviously, I'm no longer an insider. Just a major shareholder. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think eXp is transcending real estate. I've always thought that. I used to think Glenn. I mean, it's still. It's Glenn's system. It's the system of Glenn Sanford, right? So where's that going to go? Well, look at what he's doing. I mean, we just bought Success Magazine. We own the virtual platform. We're doing stuff now with Microsoft, with Dell Compute. I mean, we're doing some really big things in the virtual space, in the meta world. Obviously, I used to say, I mean, I still say it, but I don't think Glenn's. I don't think he's going to stop. I think he's going to make a run at Bezos and Elon Musk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I don't disagree. I think that how does that tie into like what, if you're an agent, right?
Yeah.
And you're with eXp or maybe you're not with eXp, you want to go to eXp. Like, what does that mean for you, an agent? Just like something.
Yeah. Like that your guy could potentially be like one of the greatest human beings on the planet. I mean, what
Sure.
does that mean everything?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this earlier. Like, how did you get good at what you do? You started studying the masters. You had the advantage of YouTube and social media, so you could follow these influencers. I mean, you came up at the perfect time during this whole influencer. I was, probably 10 years ahead. We had Facebook. I do think I built eXp primarily by leveraging Facebook.
Right.
I mean, that was it. I used to do all these groups and all these, networking things, and people thought we were huge, and we weren't. So thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Craigslist, and thank you, Facebook.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't be eXp without.
Perception's reality, right? People were looking at you back in the day. They're like, man, Brian, he's doing something.
Yeah, but it's so easy now to go, oh, I would have done it. I would have saw it what Brian saw. I would have. But the thing is, I mean, two things. One, I didn't have another choice. I mean, really, my back was up against a wall. I mean, I was a freaking waiter.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I had I could tell I'm a storyteller.
A phenomenal storyteller. Yeah.
That's what
phenomenal
I do. I tell stories.
So now, fast forward, at what point, because now you've got heavy hitters in your organization, right?
Yeah.
We're talking Elena Cardone, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. Like, what was that like? I mean, because you correct me if I'm
all
wrong.
right, so let me
you
back up.
personally brought in Elena.
Well, so before that,
okay.
So Tarek El Moussa.
Right.
So, and before that, Haas Pratt. Okay, so it all started with Haas Pratt. So Haas Pratt was a coach in the real estate space. He was kind of like an up-and-coming Brian Buffini type coach, right? He had the Haas Pratt, listing boss book. And so I used to have Haas come teach classes in the cloud office just to our agents because, we met and we're friends online or whatever. And so he was cool. He'd come in and no one would do, I mean, like, anyone who ever gave us any attention, you were my best friend, right? Like people would just get out of here, guys. You guys are jokes, So anyone who was like, "Oh, you guys are kind of cool," I was like, "Yes, they thought we were. This is great." So he kind of was nice to us, and so that was the what was the other guy?
Tarek.
Yeah.
Was it Tarek?
So Haas finally came over, right? I finally got him over. Now he did a book signing thing with Tarek. And so he was, and Haas is another one of these guys. He would send books to famous people because someday I'm gonna get that guy.
Yeah.
Right. So he'd send a book to Tarek. Yeah. Someday I'm gonna get that guy. Right. It's like his little seeds from the future. Right. He's seeding the future with his books. And so, so long story short, we ended up getting Tarek over, and then
where was Tarek at before?
He was into some LA, independent deal, flipping.
So you get Tarek.
Yeah, he had 3 agents working with him and flipping, and but he was a real estate guy. I mean, he was doing about 500 flips. He was. You
have to
50 flips a year
to be on the show and have the network and.
Well, funny enough, he had never done a flip before he'd gotten the show.
I believe that.
Yeah, he just dreamed it up in his basement. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
It's kind of like Ryan Serhant. Not to get off topic here, but Serhant. I was watching a video of him the other day. He was talking about when he was in real estate for 2 years. I mean, he did rentals. I mean, and then he got this opportunity to interview for the $1 million listing, right? And he wasn't a $1 million agent. He talks about it. He went and basically pretended to be a $1 million agent.
That's what I did.
And they took him, right? And now look at him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So. No, I pretended to be a real estate person when I hadn't even passed my test yet. Right. I mean, think about this. Awesome. How many agents do you have sitting out in your office?
41 agents.
Okay. Yep. If let's pretend. I mean, how many of them when they were in real estate school, if you would have said, "Hey, I want you to be the team leader for my team. How many of them would have taken that job?
A lot.
But like confidence wise, like I'm ready for that. Like give
None.
me this. Like
None.
I feel like I could have offered this. I offer people life-changing opportunity, and most people don't see it.
Right.
At least not the first time.
Well, they don't believe in themselves.
Yes. And
Right.
so that was it. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what I was thinking when I said yes. Right. Like I just didn't have any other choice.
Yeah, you had the I think you just had the somewhere. I think there's certain times in our life where we just have the confidence to be somebody we're not, knowing that we can become that person by just pretending we already are.
That's right. My dad used to say, act as if.
Right.
Or you got to look the part. You know, I was good at that. And I don't think of it as faking it till you make it. I think of it as project it until you reflect it.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I would project what I want it to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Tarek.
Okay, so we got Tarek in, and then Haas had another contact named Lisa Copeland. Now, Lisa was a killer. I mean, she was one of the top car dealers in America. She brought Fiat to the United States, worked out a deal with Gucci. I mean, she was in real estate, mortgage. I mean, she was just a total killer, used to be in the car world. So we said, Lisa, you should come over, but don't put Haas as your sponsor. You should come in under Tarek because she could leverage, hey, I got the celebrity. I'll build under him. Well, so then right away, she's like, oh, I know Grant Cardone. We should go get him. And I was like, great, let's set it up. We'll get Tarek on the phone. We'll get Grant on the phone. So we get Tarek on. We're all sitting there ready to go, Zoom call. And Jared gets on.
Jared Glant.
Yeah.
Okay.
No Grant.
Yeah.
Now, right away, you know, and you know, in Tarek's mind, you know, he's a big deal. And he is. And he's like a little snubbed. You know, he's like, why is this guy not getting on a call? He sends his number one guy, and he felt a little snubbed. We went through the whole presentation, laid it out. Jared was very cool. But he ultimately said, I don't see how this works with Grant. He's a developer and a multifamily investor, and we don't want to have to get his license. And thank you very much. See you later. We're like, oh, that was, you know. And I think even Tarek was like, we can do it without him. I was like, I still want him.
Right, yeah.
No, this is just,
For
he's
sure.
a little offended.
Yeah.
And so, but now come to find out later, he was filming Undercover Billionaire, and he couldn't get on. They couldn't tell anybody. They couldn't even tell us.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he would have been on the call, it turns out. But it wasn't a fit.
Yeah.
And so, so me and Lisa are still scheming though, and it was about 6 months later. Clubhouse came out. Okay. So Clubhouse came out. Everyone's getting all hot and heavy with Clubhouse. Lisa starts doing this Breakfast with Champions show.
I remember that. Yep.
And all of a sudden, like the most random people start popping in, and then all of a sudden, Cardone's on there. And then one day, my wife wakes me up and she goes, "Grant and Glenn are in a Clubhouse. Get in there." I'm dead asleep. 5:30 in the morning, and she wakes me up, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Now, this is pre 6 a.m. Brian, okay?
Sure. Yeah, this is before all that.
This is like, I'm burnt out. I want to retire. Yeah. I'm sick of it. My voice hurt. I was done talking. Yeah. I didn't want to talk to people.
Wow.
I didn't want more devices. I didn't want more apps. You know, the phone was killing me. Everything was killing me, right?
So crazy to see.
So my wife's like, get on Clubhouse. I'm like, oh, fine. I don't even want to say anything. My voice is scratchy. I don't want to be called on. I'm like, oh my God. And I just hear Grant go, Glenn, is there anything I can do to help you grow eXp? You let me know. And I'm just like, oh. And I go, and they were like bromancing hard on the call. I mean, it was pretty cool. And I hung up the phone, or, you know, got out of Clubhouse, called Lisa, and I said, you need to get Grant on the phone, and I'll get Glenn on the phone. And so we did the Parent Trap move. I was like, hey, Glenn, Grant really wants to talk to you. And she was like, hey, Grant, Glenn really wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so we brokered the call. And then I think in my, you know, occasionally I have good, you know, genius thoughts. I said, we're not going to be on the call, Lisa. So just let the two guys get on the call and let them talk it out. Right? You know, billionaire to billionaire. And so we ended up brokering the call. There was a couple false starts. We're like, Grant didn't get on, and Glenn's like, you didn't show up. And I'm like, we'll get him. It's in an hour. You know, so we're doing that whole thing.
My gosh.
Oh, dude, we're sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Has the call. And, you know, Glenn's not a man of many words. He's just like, doesn't even tell me they have the call. You know, I mean, like, or, you know, I knew, but like, there's no like, hey, the call went great.
Right.
So I'm like, so, you know, like, well, and he goes, well, I think I'm probably going to be speaking at GrowthCon, and I might be on the next Undercover Billionaire. And I was like, and?
Yeah.
Good for you, but what about me? You know? Did we recruit him? And then he's like, no, and that's it. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's a, you know, developer and a multifamily guy. And I'm just like, damn it.
Yep.
So it was like, whatever, right? And now the whole backdrop is Lisa's, going to do some stuff with Elena, and she went to an event, so she's kind of reeling in Elena. So they kept talking, and I found this out later, but the story is basically Grant and Glenn were on a call. They're cruising down the highway. Elena's riding shotgun on speaker. Glenn's like, well, let's do a deal. We'll figure it out. What's the deal look like? I don't know. One of you should get your license. Grant's like, probably not me. And Elena's like, I'll do it. What am I doing?
Right.
And they're like, you're going to get your license so you can join eXp. So then I got a call from Glenn probably a day later that was something like, hey, Brian, I have it on good authority that Elena Cardone's joining eXp and she's naming Lisa Copeland as her sponsor. And I'm just like, right?
Yep.
But that started, because our game and
Sure.
the way it works is, she was under an LOI. She hadn't gotten her license yet. She wasn't allowed to recruit. But now all of a sudden, people started figuring it out. Like Grant's being very eXp and talking
He's
eXp.
loud.
Everybody's like, what's going on? Is Cardone coming to eXp? I think I know who got him. It must have been this guy. It had to have been that person. And people were kind of like, yeah, it might have been me. Like they weren't saying it wasn't. And I was like, it wasn't him. It wasn't them. But we couldn't say anything because we knew, and we didn't want us, we were just on pins and needles. And then it was even we even heard through the grapevine, I think Elena even told us that someone who had invested big time into Cardone tried to tell the pilot to tell him not to pick us and pick someone else. And
oh my gosh.
and then Grant was like, I would never do that, man.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And then finally it went down and we all went to GrowthCon and it was like
the rest is history.
And literally at GrowthCon, I was acting like a little bee. I was talking about retiring. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was run down. I'd made it, And then I started seeing like billionaire after like celebrity athlete, 60-year-old, 70-year-old, still crushing, still killing it. I'm just sitting in the front row like, oh my God, I gotta kick my ass. Like it completely snapped me out of my funk. And as a matter of fact, and this is kind of interesting, my throat pain went away.
Wow.
Okay. And I told Grant about it afterwards. And you know what it was? It was Jesse Isler did the opening of GrowthCon that year, and he talked about how Dave Goggins was sleeping on his couch, and he was trying to coach him through a 100-mile marathon, ultra marathon. He said he got about 50 miles in, and his legs gave out. And he said Dave Goggins just stood next to him and said, yell, I don't feel pain, I don't quit, and take a step.
Wow.
Now say I don't feel pain, I don't quit, take another step.
Dude.
60 miles, 70 miles, 80 miles, 100 miles, every step yelling, I don't feel pain, I don't quit.
Take a step.
With Goggins next to him, like, say it again.
Wow.
Right? So I start saying, I don't feel pain, I don't quit. Like, I'd wake up, this is 5 days,
Sure.
Talking all day, drinking all night, wake up, do it again. And I'm just like, hungover, I don't feel pain, I don't quit, I don't feel pain, I don't quit. You're fine, get up, go. And literally by the end of it, throat pain's gone.
Wow.
I tell Grant, he's like, yeah, man, I keep moving, man, knocks the rust off.
Yeah. Dude, I love Grant, bro. I've been following Grant that's wild, dude. So, but you did that every day. And you still do that.
Yeah, because that was the beginning of me understanding neuroplasticity and taking control of my mind. And, like Napoleon Hill says, taking control of your mind and directing it towards whatever purpose you so desire.
Because most people don't have any control, right? Like they're on autopilot.
They don't believe it's possible. If I said, hey, take control of your mind, everyone's like, what do you mean?
Yeah. What the heck? Where do I start?
Yeah, and so what taking control of the mind is, really it's using logic. So, okay, things happen, you're walking down a hallway and someone bumps into you. Okay, that happens, right? You can't control that. What can you control?
How I react to it, obviously.
Okay, so you have a choice. You can react emotionally, right?
Right, yep.
And that's probably not going to end well.
Nope.
Right? Or you could take a one count, think about it, go, okay, did he mean it? Did he not? What if he did? Who cares? Did it cost me anything? I could easily let it go, keep walking, sorry, my bad, right? All the outcomes. The guy could turn around and shank me. He could have a gun.
Yeah.
He could, jump in his car and run over my family. Is it worth it to react emotionally? And so the Stoics would say your freedom, the only freedom we have in life, whether you're being incarcerated, being tortured, being put in prison, is to react or respond. So it's either respond with logic and reason or react emotionally. Now, as soon as you react emotionally, you've given away your freedom.
Sure.
So the only freedom we really have is the freedom to choose whether to use your mind or let your emotions get the better of you. And that's stoicism in a nutshell. And I practice that, and you got to train, and it's mental hygiene, and it's emotional resiliency, and it's, and these are real schools of thought.
Yeah.
Like you used to have, the Aristotelian school, and you have the Platonic school and the Socratic school. You have these emerging sort of new age psychology schools that are starting to come out.
It's so cool to listen to you because I'm a lot younger than you, but I've been where you were at when you didn't want to get up and you did. It's like, why am I doing that? I mean, I've been there many times actually, like where I've, because I've hired and fired 1,000 people. I've started like 10 companies.
Well, you know what my problem is? I would self-talk. I'd say, well, I caddied and I woke up every day early and I have earned the right to sleep in.
Yeah.
I fucking hate sleeping in now.
Right.
Like I can't.
It's crazy to see, but it's night and day.
Yeah.
Like what you've done.
So what's your current self-talk with you regarding getting up early?
Dude, I just it's
automatic now.
Yeah, I mean it's automatic, I would say, and I just don't let myself like make the excuse anymore.
Yeah, no
right?
negotiating.
Like, it's just like, yeah, dude. I mean, it's just like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I have weird thoughts. It's just like, dude, like, I don't get much more time here.
Yeah.
And so while I'm here, like, I just have all these crazy thoughts that go through my head now.
Yeah,
I've just been like training, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they're good. They're good because they ultimately lead to good, right?
Well,
It's like, all right, well, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I even? Yeah.
We both saw Jordan Peterson together.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a video where he talks about self-talk. First, it's about free speech. Okay, and this is do we got another hour? This is interesting. So free speech. All right. So think about this. So he used the term. Let's just pretend we're all sitting around like the campfire, kind of like nomadal tribal days, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he talked about the ever transforming horizon. Okay. So we're sitting around watching the horizon. Now I moved up to Troon. I can see the sun come up and the sun set every day. Mm-hmm. Before, when I lived in a suburb or in a neighborhood with neighbors, I could see when the sun maybe crested over the top of his house and then lost it between another neighbor's house.
Right.
Or I could go out and stand in the street and maybe see glimpses of a sunrise or glimpses of a sunset. Now, 360 sunrises and sunsets, 360 starscapes. And my point is, like, that's very human.
Yeah.
Like, you think they were like advanced astronomers? No, they were just, that's all they had to look at was the stars and the sun and the moon, and they just would figure it out and make notes. And so I'm doing this now, right? I'm watching the sun, I'm watching the moon, and I'm starting to have these thoughts like you, and I'm like, what is the point of all this? What are we trying to accomplish? What are we supposed to do before we die?
Yeah.
Right? And, I think about building pyramids and why did all these, massive leaders try and leave behind some sort of, hey, I was here. But I also don't want to live a rough existence and then like build a big tomb and be buried in it.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So wouldn't it be nice to like live in the pyramid before you die?
It would be really nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've crafted our hashtag for 2023 is live inside your legacy.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'll ask people, what's your top line goal? Right? I always think that's so important when I sit down and interview people. I said, what's your top line goal? Because everyone's got the same goal effectively. It's probably somewhere in the version of time and financial freedom or doing it for the kids, leaving something behind. A guy today said, I'm building up a financial fortress around my family so they don't have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it's all the same. It's leaving a financial legacy or some sort of legacy. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, but the vast majority of people only leave like 2 pieces of paper, the birth certificate and their death certificate. If you ask 95 or 100 people, maybe 95 of them won't know the name of their great-grandparent.
Wow.
Right? So that means your own... Yeah. So you've forgotten...
Your own lineage.
Your own descendant. So, by the way, you're going to be forgotten in 3 generations. That sucks. Yep. That's a really shitty proposition. Okay, so how do you make sure you're not forgotten? Mm-hmm. Well, you could be a great guy and leave behind a loving and emotional legacy and a caring legacy. But I'm sure your great-grandpa did that.
Yep.
You know,
He did. Yeah, I
I
guess.
mean, he obviously was good with the ladies, or he wouldn't have gotten, there wouldn't have been kids. But you know what I mean? Like, he was obviously a good guy, could attract some people, but that wasn't enough. But had your grandpa been named Ray Kroc,
Right.
you'd know him.
Yep.
You'd have a statue of him. You'd be named after him.
Mm-hmm.
You'd name your kids after them, right? Yep. And so I'm thinking about that now. I'm like, okay, I want to leave behind a legacy. I want to leave behind something to, for this life of toil and emotional heartache and, suffering. Because, I mean, the Buddhists say to live is to suffer, right?
Yeah.
And, I want to leave something behind. And then you start to think, well, what's leave behindable?
Right.
I just went through a whole thing where I took CDs and put them onto a thumb drive. Mm-hmm. But those CDs used to be VHS tapes.
Right, that you converted to CDs.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens when I can't play the thumb drive?
Right.
What happened to all my memories?
Right.
Yeah. How about like etch it on stone? Dude,
Yeah.
stone goes away, metal goes away. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the point is, it's like, that's where I'm thinking today.
Those are very similar thoughts to like what I have, right? Because and I haven't. It's not like I'm freaking Bill Gates by any means, but and I'm really nobody, right?
Yeah,
But like I have in my life, I've made tens of millions of dollars. I've bought in some Lamborghinis. I've done some cool stuff. I've traveled the world. I'm young, right?
You got real estate. You got houses.
Yeah, So it's like even just with that much success, I haven't bought a jet yet or anything like that. But like I'm already like, all right, but what else? Like what? But what? Like is it just more money? I mean, that's part of it. But is it? And I'm a Christian, and so then I think, and then I'm like, but my mind just goes, man.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to get into like the cold plunge, and so I think I'm starting to learn more about myself.
Yeah.
Which I think is advancing.
Yeah.
I'm like getting to where you're kind of in these deeper.
Well, okay, so you're going through, obviously I'm rambling, but like the ever evolving horizon. Okay, you and I, this is part of how we interpret it. So it takes this psychobabble. I think it's a storm. I think it's a crazy, menacing God that's about to come in and punish us. I think it's just some clouds and like maybe some dirt. Who's to say? But it's the act of that conversation, right? That speech, right? For you to be able to just, Jordan Peterson says better. He goes, we clumsily trip our way towards the right answer. But you throw out your shitty idea. I throw out my shitty idea. He throws out or she throws out. And now all of a sudden, between all of our shitty ideas,
we're closer.
We're getting closer.
But you're not there. You're not even
We're not there.
No.
But now here's the fucked up part.
Yeah.
You do this internally too.
Yeah.
Right? So you actually you'll take, and we're the only animal species that does this. So we'll take a question and we'll go, well, what about this? And we'll go, but maybe that. And so your body actually becomes the battleground.
Yeah.
You've split yourself in half and you're fighting over.
Yep.
So that's the free speech that we need to protect. That's what Jordan Peterson was saying. He's saying basically this ability to blurt out anything or to think the most crazy, absurd thought and just say it out loud is so essential for us to be able to decode reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I love Jordan Peterson,
Totally.
by the way. Dude, I'll watch him sometimes, and I'll watch it like 4 or 5 times. Like
it's a whole dude.
Back to back, and I'm still I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch it one more time. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, what's he saying? Like, what are we?
Well, because what he's doing, he's actually formulating those thoughts, and he's like struggling with the perfect way to the word choice,
Yeah.
and that's when you start to get around these masters like him and Grant and Glenn and Brandon Dawson and
Yep.
the Austin Zabacks of the world. What you start to realize is every word is the perfect, most, but they're not calculated.
No.
It's flows.
Yep.
Right. So they've been so trained and so, just their minds are so sharp that they just don't blurt out dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Because the word is so powerful. Abracadabra means the word is your magic wand. And we talked about this before. The law of attraction is a law. It works whether you understand it or not, and it works for the positive and the negative, right? The law of gravity, you fall off a tree, you hit the ground whether you understand it or not.
Right.
And it's not some of the time.
It's every time.
It's every time. The law of attraction, whether you understand it or not, still works.
Every time.
Some of the time, every
All
time.
the time.
Yeah. And the positive or the negative, both.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
So be careful what we say.
Yeah.
The Stoics would say, unless it improves the conversation or it's kind, don't say it. Or unless it's necessary or kind, don't say it.
Yeah, I love that. So real estate, you're taking all of this, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I love what you're doing, and you're on a mission to kind of take like Well, like you said in the beginning, right? Wealth is hell, but you're
I want to help heal real estate people.
You're merging it all,
Yeah,
right? Which I think is really cool.
Bring happiness to a pretty unhappy industry.
Extremely unhappy industry.
Yeah.
Like, what's the future of the industry? I mean, so now you have like, talk to me about like the future of the real estate agent, right? Like, have you heard of the chat
the chatbot?
What's it called?
The chat AI or whatever.
Chat GPT, right? So have you played around with it at all? So I mean, dude, I can type in anything in Chat GPT. Like I could take a video of somebody or whatever, and like put it in there, and it's like, write me another video like this, but it can't be like that, but it has to be like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's basically right on the money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then like you've got all this like crazy technology, bro. Like what's the future of real estate? I mean, like, do I need a realist? Do I need, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, because I think real estate is such a big universe, right? I mean, I always laugh when people say I'm in real estate. I'm like, I go, what do you do? And they go, I'm in real estate. I'm like, yeah, and what do you do?
Right. Yeah, like what? Yeah.
Do you cut the grass on it? Do you safeguard? Are you a security guard for real estate? Like, what are you doing on that real estate? And are you buying it? You selling it? You're leasing it? There's a lot you can do. It's also big money. Right. And most people, just buying a house, it's the biggest transaction they'll ever do in their life. Okay. Biggest dollar amount, most stress. Also, unlike maybe a travel agent, right? You want a local expert. You want someone who knows the area that you can trust. It's very much still a friend's business. We're not paid as real estate people to show houses. We're not paid to send them listings. Right? I used to teach sales training. I said, you guys are not, it doesn't say on your license, pull out your license. I say, everyone, pull out your real estate license. Does it say real estate listing provider? Mm-hmm. Does it say real estate tour showing agent? No, it says real estate sales.
Yeah.
Sales, right?
Right.
Your job is to help them navigate and negotiate a successful transaction. Okay? That's where your expertise comes in. It's to keep them out of trouble because there's so many pitfalls during a real estate transaction that you're sort of it's like having an attorney. Do you think attorneys will ever go away? No. Because there's so much to understand. I mean, you've been in real estate for over a decade, right?
Yeah, about 9 years.
9 years.
Yep.
Okay. There's just no way you could go back to yourself 9 years ago and go, man, you know everything you need to know right now.
Yeah.
You've studied it all. You've learned it all. You've watched every book. It's like how much of that 9 years is just you having to experience some of that stuff?
Yeah, and a lot of it is so emotionally, like it's EQ, right? Like it's not IQ.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like can a robot figure that out, right? Like it's not. It's so it's just like
it's an art.
Yeah, you can't even articulate it, right? It's like I can't put that in
it's a finesse.
Total finesse.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I can't, there's a lot of things I can't put in a textbook. Like sometimes I try to make training videos for my team, right? And because we have a university and I'm like, I can't put that in I don't know how to, like,
well, here's another,
I can give it to you on the fly.
I just saw this perfect example. A waiter, right? I mean, you could easily go out to dinner and do not need a waiter or a waitress or a server, okay? Right. I was a waiter.
Yeah, we can figure that out right now, right?
Yeah. But you like one.
Mm-hmm.
I actually prefer to be waited on. I like to get a menu. I don't want to pull up my app and do that dumb thing. I want a paper menu. I want to sit down and look at a menu with my wife, and I want somebody to ask me if I want some water. I mean, I can cook better than them. I can clean glasses better than them. I have a nicer view at my home than these restaurants. Why am I going to the restaurant, though? Yeah. Service.
And human beings, right? We want, like, that. We need that.
You love it.
As a human, like, fundamentally, as a human being, we need other human beings to interact with.
By the way, so I used to teach, calling your client, right? And most people feel like, I'm bothering my client. I don't want to bother him. He's just going to be so annoyed. I'm calling again. I go, dude, think about this. You got some person sitting in some, office in Minnesota or some bar in Iowa or somewhere in Chicago, and they are with their friends and they're busy, and all of a sudden they get a call and they say, hold on a second, my agent in Arizona, my real estate agent in Arizona is calling me. Hold on, everybody. Like, is that a bother or is that kind of a status thing?
Right.
Like, to me, that's a cool call to get.
Yep.
Like, my agent in Scottsdale is calling me. Hold on, everybody.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
So I would try and
awesome.
teach my salespeople, because they would just by default, they were just ingrained to think they were being annoying.
Yeah, and you're not.
You're not.
No. And you're a marketer, right? Like, we're marketers.
Yeah, marketers.
Dude, like, I think people forget that. It's like, hold on. You're Grant, dude.
No,
Grant,
the sales, the end of the road, right?
Grant is a beast at talking about this subject. I learned this from Grant.
Master.
Right? It's like, dude, Grant's like,
Promote.
dude, you're just a freaking marketer.
Yep.
You're a marketer. I mean, like, there's all this other crap that you do, but you're a marketer.
Yep.
Because if nobody knows who you are,
Marketing and promotions, that's it.
then it doesn't matter, right? It's like, well, if nobody knows you're an agent, you're not an agent. You're like, there's no point in even having your license if nobody
Can't
knows.
be a secret agent.
Right.
So,
So, the future of, like, let's I just want to look at, okay.
I think the future is going to be amazing.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think so. And I think with that, going back, I guess.
want to make sure of it.
Coming full, I know. And I know you will, bro. Coming back full circle to eXp, and now you've got brokerages like Real.
Yeah.
And you've got, I think we're starting to see a trend, right?
Yeah.
Where people are saying, I think people are waking up and they're saying, okay, hold on. Keller Williams is cool. HomeSmart's cool. Coldwell Banker's cool, right? And there's nothing wrong with these brokerages, but they're set in their ways. They've been around forever. They just like, they still. I mean, Keller Williams.
They're bricks and mortar driven.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, what are we going to see more of these continue to
Yes,
pop up?
of course. Well, so what's the real trend? If you study the history of real estate brokerages, like I have, right? No,
Yeah.
Every time a brokerage made a twist in the model, they usually blew up and became number one. So it started with, I think, Coldwell Banker came out with the concept of, owning an office, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
And then Remax came out with franchising, and they became number one. And then Keller came out with profit share, and he became number one. Mm-hmm. And then we innovated and brought out gross commission rev share, company stock, and virtual officing. So 3 twists, actually, not just one. And we'll eventually be number one. So unless somebody's going to really twist the model, I don't see anybody creeping up on eXp anytime soon. There's going to be plenty of duplicators. And really, Glenn, we're honored, right? I mean, until you have people copying you, you're really not a valid model.
Imitation is the highest form of flattery, right?
It's social proof, right? I mean, now that we have people actually, so what did we do? Gary started it by saying you can. So I think if you look at and you study the history of real estate, it's a bifurcated system. In other words, it's a 2-class system. You have an owner class and a member class, and the members serve the owners. Okay. Now, the owners get to enjoy certain benefits, right? They get to scale up, right? They can change the fees and participate in the revenue, and so if you want to make more money as an owner, you can open up more offices, you can add more agents. You can now, if you're a member and you need to make more money, what do you get told?
I got to go trade more time. I got to
go sell more houses.
Sell more houses.
Yeah, work harder.
Yeah.
All right. So what Gary did was he said, hey, I'm going to give you a little piece of this ownership, but it's in the form of a profit. We're already the real owners. Us real owners are doing the hard stuff, but then there's some, crumbs that we're going to throw you. But you're going to feel better about this company because you're getting at least something more than you would have gotten at that other place that gives you 0 crumb, right? So he started hey, you get a little taste of this thing. Well, we came along and we said, well, why don't we give them more, right? Let's give them actual stock. So now they're legit owners in the company, right? Revenue share paid off of gross number, so it's big. So they're getting to participate in the revenue, and we can grow and scale. See, before Austin Zaback at XYZ Brokerage, unless you started a team, you really didn't have the ability to scale. And by the way, starting a team, well, you better be so busy that you can support a bunch of other mouths, because if you try and start a team and you can't even support yourself, you're going to go broke, right?
Sure.
So you don't start a team until you're so busy. Well, how do you get to be so busy? So it's a tough hoe to row, right? And so basically, a row to hoe.
Yeah, I think one or the other.
Yeah, let's go with the second one. And so basically, you're trying to, dig ditches to get rich, right? And so then now agents are going, well, wait, what is the owner? Well, I want to be like him or her, right? And so they start going, but it usually takes 25 years, and you got to buy in, and you got to. Well, then eXp came along and said, hey, no, you do one transaction, you get stock. You bring in one person, now you're a team builder.
Yeah.
And you don't have to support them. You don't have to give them tools, training, nothing. eXp does it all. All you got to do is be their benefactor and just introduce them, be like a talent scout and recognize talent and introduce them to the Yankees, and the Yankees does the rest.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Dude, I've been with eXp. I don't know if I think we're allowed to say this, but I've been with eXp for like 18 months.
Yeah.
They've given me like 5,000 shares of free stock.
Yeah.
5,000 shares.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's not bad.
And not only that, they give you stock to go out and acquire other talent.
Right.
And put them into your rev share business.
So, like, eventually when the stock's $100 a share, which that'll happen eventually, right? Dude, what is that, 500 grand?
And then you'll still be making more and making more
right.
and getting more.
Yeah, by then
I'll
have 10,000 shares or whatever.
See, it's a compound effect, right? It's the exponential growth. It's the forced multiplier.
Yeah.
Right. And what Brandon Dawson would say, studies would say you can't get rich unless you're part of a system that allows you to multiply people. Okay. The vast majority of small businesses are one person or less. Most of them will go out of business or not succeed. Very few of them will get rich and become financially free, right? So what are real estate agents? They're small independent businesses, and if you're doing it all yourself, you got nothing to sell, right? You got you got to keep selling. If you're I do a whole income spiel. I say income doesn't come in all the same shapes and sizes, right? You've got sort of baseline forms of income, hourly, salary, but I'm going to throw commission, transactional commission, contract work. All of that is like what you just said, trading time for money.
Sure.
Right? But it's transactional. It's not transformative, right? What's transformative? That's stock, that's equity, that's passive income, that's reoccurring revenues, right? Well, how do I get those? I'd like those. So what eXp's did is it educated your average agent that says, hey, you should be more of an entrepreneur. Think like an owner. Like I said, Glenn said to me, be the CEO, right? He also gave me multiple revenue streams. We have an exit strategy. I mean, we are entrepreneurs that happen to be in real estate.
Right.
We're not real estate people that just happen to be doing business.
I love that.
Yeah.
So talk to me now. We were talking, okay, so Real comes onto the field. Now that, because what you said a little while ago, hey, once you have people that start kind of, I don't want to say copying, but like,
for sure.
the model, right?
Yeah.
Then now you're legit. Okay, we're on to something,
Yes.
right? Which obviously we knew you're 90,000 agents. You can't not be legit in 20 plus countries and whatever. So then obviously what happens next now? Does Real blow up now, or what are we talking about?
What twist did they make?
I don't know.
I don't either. But here's my thoughts on them and anyone really.
I don't think they made any. They're like, I could be wrong here. Your front line, you get paid more or something.
I think they came out with like a fractional piece of fractional sponsorship, maybe
something
is
like that.
their new twist.
Yeah.
Headache.
It's not
nightmare.
enough though of a. You said a little while ago. You said something. You said that when people come in and they completely change the model and tip it upside down on the head, they blow up. Right? So Real came in, they didn't totally flip eXp's model upside down on the head.
No.
Right? I don't know how you would even do that.
I don't either. And by the way, the eXp model, if you were to say what is it, it could be applied to any industry. What did we do? We cut we leveraged technology to cut out the inefficiencies. We gave people revenue for helping us grow, and we gave them stock if they were producers and growth leaders. So effectively, you could do this in a lot of industries, right? You use technology, you give them ownership, right? Create an affiliate program. I mean, you could do this with barbers. You could do it with any industry.
Sure.
So it's a really a cool model if you break it down to its core components, right? So here's what I would say about any competitor. Where did they come from? Who helped start them? I used to say, like, what I liked about eXp is we weren't a bunch of hedge fund guys and gals that saw big money in real estate and said, I know, we're going to start a real estate brokerage and we're just going to go soak these real estate agents for a bunch of money. Glenn was a top agent. I was a top agent.
He was in the model.
We sold I showed more houses in my first 5 years in real estate than probably anybody in the history of real estate. Right? I mean, I had more. I would show 30 or 40 houses in one day.
Right.
I would go.
It's wild.
Literally, I would go. This is in 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
This place was blowing up, dude. I would literally. So I'd get these clients, and they go, here's my list of homes, and they'd send me like 100 homes they liked. Okay, and then they give me 3 days, and now I would try and will it down into like 60, but you couldn't leave any off because inevitably they would go, "What about that home you didn't show me?"
Sure.
So you had to really and back then I didn't know. I just moved here. I didn't know my way around town. I had Illinois license plate. So I would.
You're not driving a Tesla,
dude. I would do this move. I would take them out to Queen Creek. Show them 2 houses in Queen Creek. I'd go all the way out to Goodyear. Show them 2 or 3 houses in Goodyear, Peoria. Come up into a surprise, show them a couple houses, and then I'd finish the afternoon. It'd be like 4 or 5 in the evening, and I'd come back through Scottsdale, and I did the whole loop. I'd show them 20 or 30 homes, and then I go, now you got to eliminate 85% of this valley, because if they didn't get to see Queen Creek, they didn't. I mean, these were Canadians, these were people that had never been to Arizona, and they would go, well, what about that 4,000 square foot house that's only $200,000? I'm like, that's Queen Creek. You don't want to live there. They'd be like, well, I want to see it. Right. So then I just knew I had to show them. And then the second day I go, now where do you want to live? They go, probably Cave Creek, Scottsdale. I go, well, I could have told you that, but I had to show you. So now, out of those 5 homes or 10 homes that's in that area, which ones do you want to see today, or which ones do you want to go back? So I did the elimination.
Sure.
I had to show them the whole valley. Well, now, I'm doing this every weekend, every year for 5 years.
Wow.
All week too. I mean, I was just
So you guys are in the model. Right,
so we
back
were real
to the
estate
eXp,
people, and we knew what real estate agents wanted. We knew what to give. I'm not sure I know that much about the owner of that company you mentioned, but I do know about some of the first people that did jump in with them. A lot of them were executives with us, and I'll just say this. If you were successful at eXp, okay, truly successful, and it doesn't take you years. I mean, if you were successful within your first year, and you did enough, even if you just did what you were supposed to do, which is bring in a couple people a month, in your first year, sell some houses, you would have had so much revenue share and so much stock that you would have walked away from that you wouldn't have left.
Right.
So the people that started that company used to be with us. Why'd they leave?
They apparently didn't do what they should have done.
Well, you wouldn't leave a system if you were successful in it, like ours, right? Are you going to leave? You just said it yourself. How much?
5,000 shares now.
And by the way, some of that's you don't get until 2 or 3 years from now.
3-year vesting.
So you're going to walk away from thousands of shares of stock. That's your stock.
Why would I?
Never.
No.
How much do you get a month in rev share?
Right now, at least a couple thousand bucks a month.
Yeah. Next year it'll be 10,000. The year after that it'll be 50, 100. You gonna walk away from that?
No.
Because those agents ain't coming with you because they're getting the same thing. Now, listen, if you left eXp and went and started another brokerage, chances are you weren't killing it with eXp. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say. I mean, listen, more power to everybody. I want people to pursue their dreams. I mean, it's a great industry. I don't think we need to be so cutthroat about other brokerages because, again, a lot of people need to go to 2 or 3 brokerages till they figure out and appreciate eXp. Yeah. Maybe they could be the new undergrad.
My VP of sales, he was at 5 different brokerages, right? I only was ever at one. I was at one brokerage my whole career, and then I came over to eXp, all right, and that's it. Yeah. But my VP of sales was at like 5, and then he moved over with me, right? And I think for him, that was actually really good, right? Because we'll sit in a meeting, and he'll talk about it, right? If you're a real estate agent or a real estate wholesaler, then you know that lead generation is one of the most important aspects to any business. You know that you have to consistently generate leads on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. That way your team has people to call, and that way you're constantly getting new opportunities in your company. I actually partnered up with a company called Rocket Lead Services, and they have VAs that are outbound cold calling on your behalf every single day. In my experience, there's a lot of different ways that you can generate leads as an agent or as a wholesaler. You can do pay-per-click, you can drive for dollars, you can do text messaging, you can do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and so much more. In my experience, I believe that cold calling is by far the #1 way to generate leads in 2022. Not only is it my favorite way, but it is the highest ROI from what I've ever found. So Rocket Lead Services is one of the best companies out there for doing just that. They have virtual assistants that get assigned to you and to you only that are constantly calling motivated sellers to generate leads for your business. Again, this is for anybody looking to generate seller leads for their business. This is for a solo real estate agent looking to do a couple of deals a month, all the way to teams that have over 100 agents and you're looking to generate more leads for your team. Wholesalers that are looking to generate more seller leads, all the way to wholesalers that are looking to do many, many deals per month. Go to www.rocketleadservices.com and go ahead and book your free consultation. Again, that is www.rocketleadservices.com and book your free consultation. Now, let's get back to the show. And it's part of his story now, right?
Yeah, which
he's
is
like, hey, I was
huge.
at OfferPad, I was here, I was there,
I was a jumper.
right?
Yeah.
And
Don't be
he's
a
like,
jumper.
and this is why I like or love eXp, right? And so I think that's really powerful. No, and I'm with you. And I don't know anything about Real. I wanted to ask. People keep pitching me. I haven't even looked at it. I don't want to look at it. And I think my problem is so I come from a network marketing background.
Yeah.
Okay? Way before real estate, right? And people jump around all the time in network marketing. I hate that about network marketing, right? But every time I keep getting pitched Real, you know why they don't tell me anything other than one thing, why I should move.
Why?
Mover's advantage. That's it.
First one?
First one.
Yeah.
And it's not a good enough I think it's a terrible reason to move. You
Yes.
want to know why?
Yes.
Oh, it's
I
really
do know
quick,
why.
and then I want to hear you.
Go.
Because they're assuming that EXP's maxed out. When they come to me, they're like, yeah, but EXP's already at 90,000 agents, so come to Real, and you can be the... I'm like, yeah, but what if EXP's at 90,000 out of 900,000?
Yeah.
What if EXP's just getting warmed up?
Yeah. See,
Why
that for sure is one of the reasons.
Right.
And there's also a misconception. So I'll lay this case out. So I was the first one, okay, besides Glenn. Okay, I'm number one, right, or number two. Glenn's one, I'm two. If he wasn't an agent, I mean, he was, but he wasn't the agent. So I was the first agent to be part of eXp. Okay, so agent number one. There were like I said, there were a lot of people in that meeting with me. Okay, and then there were some people that came over, and then there were some people that were there, but none of them got what I got.
Right.
Okay. I was running every meeting. I was teaching every class. I was at every leadership meeting. I was calling Glenn. I was recruiting. I was managing my team. I was selling houses. I was busy as hell. I was doing the work that Glenn hired me to do from 2005. I was still doing it in 2009 and 10 and 11 and 12 when we started eXp. And so I did a lot. Now, I had some people who joined in the first year, and some of them are still with me, okay? And, dude, to this day, okay, how many years later? 12 years later? They don't say it to me, but I hear other people tell me they say this. They go, if I'd have just joined when Brian joined, I'd have what Brian had.
Right.
But that totally is not why I have what I have. It wasn't just because I was the first one, right?
Not at all.
So that's the assumption. The assumption is it's just a timing. Brian only got that because I was the first one in.
Right.
And if you were part of the first couple, you made some money, and the rest of them,
Right.
that's the true story about Keller Williams.
Yep.
Right. If you weren't one of the first waves, you didn't make big money. Okay. What you said, as a matter of fact, you did not want to be one of the first people in at eXp because you wouldn't have stuck it out. You would have left.
Yep.
Because it was miserable. 6 years to get to 1,000 agents. We used to have leadership meetings with 10 people from every state, one in each state, and we'd go around the room and it would be like a weather update. What did you do today? Well, the weather in Arkansas is sunny. Did you recruit anybody or sell a house? It's beautiful down here in North Carolina today. I'm like, we're not asking you for the weather.
Right. For real. What would you do if you were if you're an agent right now and you joined a company, let's just say like eXp or Real or whatever, and you want to, you have a 3 to 5 year plan, right? Yeah. And you talk a lot about this, I think, right? 3 to 5 year plan. I want to sell a bunch of real estate. I also want to build revenue share, get some stock, right?
I'm going to help you. Screw that question. Let me help you.
Okay.
All right. You're 27.
Yep.
Okay. What do you want your life to look like when you're 75?
God.
Draw me that picture. How many? All right. Let me ask you a couple questions. We should almost create a cheat sheet.
Yep.
How many acres are you going to own by then?
A lot of acres.
What's going to be your net worth? Give me real numbers.
With a B. There's a B.
$1 billion. So
Yep.
72. Let's say you're 27. We'll flip it. 72.
Okay.
You're going to be a billionaire.
Yep.
How many acres?
Of land?
Yeah.
A lot.
That's how you measure true wealth.
Thousands of acres.
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands. Okay.
Okay, tens of thousands of acres. If you have 5 houses that you spend the bulk of your time what cities and countries are they in?
Miami, probably Bel Air, maybe
South of France.
Dubai.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just get clear on that. How are you traveling? Obviously, private jet, probably
yep.
maybe even a spaceship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
Do you have a place on Mars?
That'd be probably. I would imagine.
Maybe you have I bet you have a real estate team. I bet there'll be an Austin Zaback real estate office up there.
100%. Zaback Ventures. Yeah.
Okay, so draw that out.
Yep.
What is your 50-year plan? Okay, because if you get that mapped out, now when you measure yourself, it's not like I'm up, I'm down. I had a good year, bad year, good year, great year, bad year, where I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going. Now you have, how many grandkids do you have? How many great grandkids do you have? What are they doing? Where do they go to college? What are their names? What are their wives' names? What are your great?
Right.
Get freaking, because what did we talk about before? If you can build that vision in your brain.
And then believe it.
See, before I met my wife, I didn't have a vision of my future. When I got sick, the picture went dark. And then when I get, like, sometimes I'll get depressed or upset, you know, with just like life, and that vision gets dim. And that's not good for me. Right? You want that vision to be vivid. I need to maintain my job as the king of my kingdom, and you're the king of your kingdom. You said before you're not as big as other guys. Fuck that. You're the king of your universe. So as you are, serving your universe, your number one job is to maintain the vision of the kingdom. That's all you need to do. And as soon as you stop, first of all, you got to get that vision, and then you got to maintain the vision. Right. See, you've got a vision. But most people, and believe me, dude, I do this for a living. I'll meet people and they're in the 50s and 60s, and they still don't have the vision.
They don't have any idea.
They never even thought about it. They were never asked.
Wow.
They're still searching for something that's going to fulfill. But here's the thing, dude. I'm the same guy that, got up in the 2-story, 3,000 square foot house. Now I'm in a 10,000 square foot house with a basketball court on the top of the mountain. Bigger house than any house I ever showed when I was, struggling real estate agent. Nicest house probably in Scottsdale. At least the best, coolest stuff in it. And I'm the same guy. Like, I'm not any happy. I mean, I'm a little happier, but like, it didn't fulfill me.
That didn't make you happier.
And that's where people end up killing themselves. Right. They spend their whole life going, if I can just make it, I can just get this, I'll stop being this wretch. And then you make it, and you're still the freaking wretch.
Right. And then you're really screwed up.
Then you kill yourself.
Right. You really, I mean, for real though, then it's bad, right? Then it's ugly, because then you don't, then what?
Well, because you were expecting that hole to be filled with some material. You were looking external. So think about this. The pursuit of happiness, that might be the greatest lie ever perpetrated on humanity, right? Because that assumes happiness is external.
Right.
You have to, Austin Zaback, you do not possess happiness. You have to go find it. It is elsewhere. It is outside of you. Is that the truth?
Not true.
You are happiness.
Right.
You're set to happiness.
I don't have to go anywhere to find it.
Your body is designed to produce happiness. You're a machine that creates happiness, and all it requires is you feed it with oxygen and positive thoughts.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
Game over.
If you could go back and like give yourself advice, like, because obviously you went through a lot of crap. Your hip. A lot of time went by. I mean,
by the way, I got to get a hip replacement in a month.
Wow, another one. You did one in 2013. I
got to get the old one replaced.
Got it. Okay. But so all that junk that you went through, right, that kind of made you, and even like 10X Growth Con, you're standing there, you're watching Jesse, right? You're like, would there have been any way to speed that up, like, or like for somebody watching or listening, like, do they just have to go through it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I mean, because you don't get this stuff either, right? Like the deep thoughts. Like, if I just gave you $100 million and you didn't understand how you got there, you're almost going to self-destruct with it.
You will self-destruct.
It's a lotto effect.
Yeah.
Right? They don't feel like they deserve it, and they that will manifest in their life.
Yeah.
That lack of, like, that they don't believe that they deserve that. They just got lucky, and they'll kill them. Now, some might figure it out, but so to me, yeah, it's like, one of my mentors said, I go, what's the best business advice you could get? He goes, the best business advice I ever got was get rich slowly.
Wow. I've never heard it like that at all.
Yeah, get rich slowly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You don't want to get rich quick. Like, everybody's like, I want to get rich quick. It's like, no, you don't.
Well, dude, my first year, I'm at Keller Williams. I had a client. He was getting ready to write an offer on 2 $5 million houses. I would have probably done $10 million in one deal. He was going to write on Biltmore. We went out to dinner. He put $5,000 on his black card. I was like, it was Sandy Baldwin's listings, or Karen Baldwin. I'm like, this is going to put me on the map. Game over. But I was also like going to 6 and going to, the clubs at night and, trying to be in the dating scene and staying out late. And I don't know if like a $100,000 commission or a $200,000 commission for a 27-year-old Brian would have been in my best interest.
Wouldn't have been good.
Probably would not have been good.
Right. Yeah.
But probably the thing that kept me alive during my college years and 20s was that I was so broke.
Right.
Because all my rich friends went way off the deep end.
Yeah, I had a lot of that growing up.
Yeah.
A lot of the dudes that I grew up with are dead.
Yeah, or just messed up, or
messed up. Yep, yep. And by everything. I mean,
strokes.
Everything. I'm not just
way
talking.
Way their 40s.
Yeah,
It just
for
gets
sure.
crazier.
Yeah, drugs and alcohol and partying and it just
so success. So here's my new angst, Austin. Do you have kids?
No, not yet.
So my angst is I got 3 kids. I got a 14-year-old. He's about to drive. I got a 10-year-old boy and a 7-year-old daughter. And I also have a big chip on my shoulder about rich kids. That was my fuel, right? And someone said this to me the other day. They go easy on rich kids. You got a couple of your own. And I was like, damn. Now, I got to figure out how do I raise my well-to-do kids. Because what I noticed is I grew up in the 90s, right? So the currency in the 90s was B-boys and hip-hop and NWA and, being hard, having street cred. And, so all my rich friends had everything, cars, condos, lakeside, this, that. They didn't have street cred. So they went and found it. They went and found the hard edge.
Right.
They went and found the gangbangers. They went and got into the drug scenes and the club scenes. And guess what?
No bueno.
Big rich kid shows up in the drug scene. Those guys know how to get their hooks in you. And, you might get something out of the scene, but the scene's going to get a lot more out of you.
Wow.
Right? So all my friends that were looking for that hard edge, because here's the thing. See, I got to be real careful. I don't want to make it sound like the only way to be successful is to have a struggle story.
Right.
Because my kids don't have a struggle story.
Right.
See? Now that trips me up because I got to be sure. So what the conversations I have with my kids are, hey guys, we worked hard, we busted our butt, but not so you could have what we didn't. I'm building something, but I want you guys to take this and build on that.
Make it even bigger.
Yeah, and we start talking about how to pass on generational wealth and generational wisdom and, the Culhane name and the legacy. And so I'm sharing with them in real time some of these big thoughts because I want them to understand that, it's not just passing on the gold. You also have to pass on the golden nuggets.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack there and we won't go down that rabbit hole, but I mean,
maybe for part 2.
Yeah, part 2 for sure. Because I mean, it's like, yeah, how do you do that? And
so
how
I
do you
kind of have to like put some hardship into their life.
Yeah. How do you
how do make them hate me?
Because they gotta want it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the key. I think people like you can lead the horse to the like they gotta.
You can't shelter them. Like my oldest, I literally wrapped him in bubble wrap. Never let him skin his knee. Never let him fall. And then last year he broke his arm twice, broke his leg. All of a sudden now all these ruffian injuries are popping up. But I my second kid I let him eat the chicken nugget off the floor.
Right.
And I let him skin his knee a little more. Right.
This is like the evolution of a parent, probably. I would imagine.
Yeah. And now my third one, she's got no resistance. So I'm thinking of hiring some bullies to just come over and bully her.
Right. Dude, I could talk about this forever. I feel like it's really interesting though, right? Because I have a chip on my shoulder, and I've always I'm still trying to figure out how that evolves in me when I'm 37 and when I'm 47 and what does that look like, and in a lot of ways the chip on my shoulder got me to where I'm at.
Yes.
And there's a couple of things where it holds me back a little bit.
Twist your spine.
It's just weird, man. It's dude, in a lot of ways I'm a freaking gangster because of it, right?
Totally.
And in a couple of ways I'm there's times where I'm not as confident or I'm not as and I've got to find this balance of
give me an example. Give me a time where you felt recently where you weren't.
Dude, sometimes okay, I've done a lot of public speaking in my life, right?
Okay.
And still to this day, sometimes I get up on stage and I'm
imposter syndrome.
Total imposter syndrome. I'm not the guy. I got to get off here. I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna have a heart attack right here. I'm not the guy. And it's all internal.
Have you ever had a heart attack?
I actually did when I was 15. I did have a pulmonary embolism, but it was because of a knee surgery.
But not on stage.
No, and it was because of a knee surgery. So
I'm fearful of that, by the way.
Yeah, so but
Holds you back a little bit.
But in a lot of ways, like I'm really confident and I'm very, so I think
Yeah.
it's like the humility, but it's like it's like I've got to figure out how to balance it. Like I see some people, they get up there, they're like, I'm the friggin' man, I'm a rock star, I'm a lot. But then it's like, is that arrogance? Like, are you arrogant at that point?
Because humility is a weird trip to play on people, and being humble, like telling people to stay humble and stuff. Like I think that's a trick too. Like I think people tell you to stay humble because they don't like to see you shine, and they feel like inadequate. So there's this whole all right, I'll give you a good example. Kid I went to high school with, his brother's actually with us. Okay, great agent, good guy. I probably said too much already, but kid I went to high school with, I made a post of my house.
Yep.
Okay, I put 3 hashtags on it: beat the sun, own your morning, and live like the Culhanes. Okay, 3 hashtags. Everyone's like, beautiful house, congratulations, great job. Just a picture, the back view of the mountain in my pool, right? And someone goes, lose the hashtags, it's super tacky. Nice house though, right? Now, I grew up in like the most gut check, ball busty, shut the fuck up, what do you think you are, shut douchebag, you don't know, what do you think is special? Like, that was like my life. I mean, anyone tried to stick their head up even a centimeter, you got smacked down, like by everybody. Like, shut up, idiot, and we all did it. I'm not innocent of doing it. And so that was where we came from, and they still do it. I mean, like my friends who are all still back home still have that ingrained in them. It's a very like, who do you think you are, big shot, right?
Yep.
And so he's doing this like, oh, that's tacky, bro. And I'm sitting there now, he's my age. I don't think he has any kids. I don't think he, or maybe he did. I don't know. Anyways, but he's not doing very well.
Yep.
And I'm like, what's tacky? He goes, tacky's like being a fucking failure.
Right.
And not being able to provide for your kids. Like, that's tacky as fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Like not being able to provide.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me for being proud. But then I kind of went through this whole thing like, this is my brand. And Grant says it's not bragging if you can leave your lifestyle behind for your kids. See, there's a difference between Austin Zaback, who's building this empire that's going to be able to be passed on, right? Your residual income, your stock. It's not just your backbone that you're leaving behind. Like, I did all this work on my back, and 60 years and carrying. Yep. No, you actually leave behind a financial legacy, and so that separates you from a lot of other people because it's not that you're just leaving behind a house. It's not that you're just leaving behind $1 million. You're leaving behind a lifestyle. Okay, your kids can live the lifestyle you live and better. So it's not bragging. Right now, if you just, bought a car and you're what do they call it? Hood rich or whatever, right? And you live in a 1-bedroom apartment and you're maxed out on your credit cards, but you got all of the Gucci and all the, the Prada bags and everything. That's tacky.
Right.
Okay. So that, to me, that's the difference.
Right.
Like, I'm living in my legacy.
Yeah.
Right. Live like a Culhane. Live like the Culhanes. That's meant to inspire you. Because you can just take this word out, live like the Zabacks. Yeah. And then it becomes what are we selling? We're selling the lifestyle. Come live like, I don't think anybody lives a better life than I do. I'd even put Glenn and Grant in there. Wow. Because just my lifestyle. Like, Glenn will say this to me. He'd be like, man, but you got you're free.
For sure.
I'm
and
like,
you
sure.
are.
Or I'll be like, I want to be on the, I was thinking about coming back. And he's like, do you really want to see it on board? I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Never mind. You're right.
Yep. For real. Yeah. Dude, that's wild, bro. I think that we could talk for like 4 or 5 hours.
I think we have.
Well,
we're a lot alike.
Yeah.
I think that's why I always appreciate you. Yeah. Same.
Like 1,000,000%. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, well, we'll have to circle back for a part 2 at some point.
Let's do this. Let's do the next one at my place, and we'll do a cold plunge remote.
I would
love that. Bring a bathing suit.
I love that.
Tell your production staff to bring their bathing suit.
And I got to get that one dude. What's his name on the pod? You were hanging out with him and
Troy Casey.
Yeah, Troy. Yeah,
dude,
I got to get him on here, bro.
Good pod.
Yeah, he's he could like everything because I loved the first half of this pod where we're talking about the health and the cold plunge and the Andrew Huberman crap and that's cool stuff. But not a lot of people are talking about that.
No, because it's and that's also it saved my life,
right?
And now I'm a believer.
And I think it'll save mine. It already kind of has.
And it'll
you know?
extend it. It'll
Yeah.
make it more enjoyable. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I lost my ability to walk for almost a year. I saw the vision. Okay, you know, we talked about having that vision when you're 80. I had a vision, and it was being a cripple that couldn't even carry his own kid up the stairs. You know, and like there was not a lot of future for a one-legged, overweight guy.
Not a lot. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that made me sort of go inward and really do the work on myself.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, you know, I have a formula. I say, you know, everyone wants time and financial freedom, but you can't work on time and financial freedom, right? That's the byproduct. Okay. Well, it's a byproduct of what? It's a byproduct of going out and making friends and making contacts, right? Contacts lead to contracts, right? So, so you want time and financial freedom. You know, you got to go out and meet a bunch of people, but you don't like the way you look and you don't have a lot of energy because meeting people takes a lot of energy. Being around strangers produces cortisone. You get afraid.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you look? Have you ever been on an elevator with strangers?
Yeah.
Time go by real fast.
Yep.
No.
Oh, actually, yeah. No,
Slows
not at
down.
all. Yeah.
And you can't wait, and you're pushing the button, and then you're, you know, like the hair on.
All the time, like the door's not closing. Why is the door not closing?
Yeah, and you're noticing everyone's nose hair,
Mm-hmm.
breathing. You know why? Because you're slipping into your parasympathetic nervous system, and you're starting to get the adrenaline, you're starting to get the norepinephrine, you're starting to get the cortisol release because it's a biological safety mechanism for us to fear people that don't look like us.
Wow.
Yeah, so imagine we're sitting around the campfire. You know, we look similar, and our kids look like us, our wives look like us, the rest of our clan, the rest of our tribe, and all of a sudden some dudes come over the hill and they wearing different skins and they got different beards and they braid their hair a little differently than we do. And they got some swords in their hands and some spears and they look like they tough hombres. Like, okay, we're gonna do one of these. No, I'm not saying we're gonna run over and like slay them with our swords, but like there's this sort of like heightened sense of awareness. Well, okay, that's not gone because, you know, 100 years of like sitting in office buildings, you know, we still have all that stuff inside of us. But now as salespeople, you have 40 something salespeople out here. What are you asking them to do every day?
We have 70. We just have 40 that are on the retail side.
That's a big number.
So they're making calls, bro. They're talking to strangers. People they've never met.
Call strangers.
Right.
Okay. So
all day, every day.
So you're asking a lot of people to do something that produces literally
cortisol.
Makes them afraid. Like they go into fight or flight mode and they'd rather die
for a living.
Some cases.
For a living.
Yep. Okay. Now, adrenaline management. Okay, so think about that term, adrenaline management. Okay, so if I'm in an elevator around strangers, I get a spike of adrenaline and it paralyzes me.
Right.
Okay. I am going to the gym every morning. I crank up my adrenaline. Jumping in cold water, after about 2.5 minutes, you release more adrenaline than bungee cord jumping, right? Adrenaline's also addictive. So I'm jumping in cold water. I'm getting this adrenaline release. I'm lifting weights. I'm in a sauna with a bunch of big dudes. I have no idea who they are. And I'm breathing. I'm calming myself down. What am I really doing? I'm adrenaline management training, right? So when it hits, when I don't expect it, I know what to do. I'm prepared myself, because when they say in military, when the S hits the fan, you revert back to the highest level of your training.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
So you know what I do when I come out of the steam room now? I practice hyperventilating. I get to the point where I hold my breath. I bend down. I stand up real fast, and I come out, and I'm almost passing out.
Right.
And I have to figure out how to either sit down or get to the floor before I black out.
Yep.
And it's just a split second, and then I'm fine. I recover. I don't take myself past the point, but that little just understanding, I better start moving down.
Right.
You know, that's going to save me someday.
Yep.
I practice that.
Wow.
I practice not having a heart attack and falling and hitting my head and dying.
Wow.
Every day.
Wow.
So I'm practicing adrenaline management. So back to my thing. Time, financial freedom, ultimate goal. The more people you meet, the more opportunities you cross your path. So the goal is to go out and meet more people.
Yep.
I don't feel good. I don't like the way I look in a mirror. So how can you help these people the most?
Right.
Get them to feel good and like the way they look in the mirror, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to go out and make 10x more calls for you.
And then they got to train. They got to do the adrenaline
so
management.
The best
they
thing
do all that
Austin
crap,
Zaback could do is put a giant cold plunge right in the middle of that training center.
Right. For
And
real.
anyone who doesn't make 100 calls, you're jumping in cold water tomorrow, and then you'll make your goddamn 100 calls.
Right. I like that idea a lot, dude.
Let's
I
do
think I
it,
might be
dude.
getting a cold punch in here. You know, I wonder if they let me do it here. You know what I mean?
Why do you gotta tell them?
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? I got tile back here. I'll
on
do
the
it
ground
in the
floor,
I'll do it in
right?
the yeah, we're on the ground
Yeah,
floor. In the
you're
kitchen
good.
area. Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
gonna fall through.
Dude, I love it, bro. I think you get a cold punch for like $5,000 or something like that.
So you can't have time and financial freedom
Yeah.
without relationship freedom. You can't be relationship free without being fully optimized. And so where do we do the work? You do the work on yourself.
No, it's so true. And it goes back to what I was saying, right? You know, public speaking is the #1 fear in America.
Yeah.
If you Google it, right?
Yeah.
It goes, I think, public speaking, spiders, heights.
And that also has a stranger piece. You're,
Right.
you're burying yourself in front of a bunch of strangers.
Right. That's why I bring it up, right? Because you're right back to your point of the elevator and the whole thing.
Adrenaline.
It's the adrenaline, right? Which is why, and even me to this day, I could sit right here. You could tell me right now,
Yeah.
50 million people are watching me right now, and I can look right in the camera. It doesn't bother me at all. The moment I get up on a stage,
Yeah.
okay, to this day, right? And
Yeah.
I've done it a bunch.
Yeah.
You know, the moment I get up there, for some reason, I haven't probably done it as much as you or as big of audience as you, but I've done it a lot.
Yeah.
And I get up there,
Probably
dude, and
bigger.
even leading up to, I'm not even up there yet. Will Smith talks about this. He has a video where it's when you're at minimum danger, it is maximum fear. Maximum fear is minimum danger, right? So it's like the day before I jump out of the airplane is when I have the most fear.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in free fall, it's pure bliss,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're in the zone.
Right. So, but back to what you're saying, that's adrenaline management. It's training.
Yes.
It's getting better. So when I do walk up there,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just a
Dude,
bunch
I
of
got
people. Who
nervous coming
cares?
in here.
Right.
You know, and by the way,
So it's not that it goes away then.
no.
It's that you get better at dealing with it.
Yeah, and you know, breathe.
Right.
Like my kids get nervous before games, and I just make them breathe on the way in the car ride over. And I said, "Hey, this is going to calm you down. It's going to pump you full of oxygen. It's going to get rid of the butterflies in your tummy. Just breathe." That's why you get nervous, by the way.
We stop breathing.
It forces you to breathe more.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they said. Wim, who's your master? He says, "I don't have a master. The cold water's my master. The cold water teaches me how to breathe better." Nature. That's the key. The water is the trigger that forces you to breathe.
Yeah. I love that.
So like when you hit cold water, what's the first thing you do?
Right. Immediately.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! This is so cold. When you get in a car accident, what's the first thing they do? Put an oxygen mask over you. You start feeling better
Yeah.
immediately.
Right.
Oxygen, it heals you. It
Right.
makes you feel better. It makes you happy. Oxygen,
love it,
oxygen.
dude.
I mean, it's all oxygen. I mean, we should all have. You should go to school and get like a blood oxygen pulse meter, and you should be trained on being pH or alkaline, and
I love that.
you know that's all we should be doing.
Dude, what a phenomenal podcast.
Let's go,
bro.
baby.
I
Let's go jump in
appreciate
some
you
cold
being
water.
on. Dude, I'm down. The next
get
one
outta
will
here.
be on. Well, I appreciate you being on, bro. We'll do another one. That was almost 2 hours, I think. And, dude,
I told you I cleared my schedule.
hey, I really appreciate you, brother. We'll see you guys in the next one.